Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Season 2, Episode 40. I'm JT, back off the COVID IL, back with Lounis and Frank, and I just have to address something right off the top. I got slandered in the episode with my Rashad Bateman love.
No.
Moving on. Then, go through the whole episode. I'm in the chat, I'm watching the whole thing. Then Frank's out here going, Justin Ross would have been a first rounder if he was a freshman. Ridiculous take. He had one of the best freshman seasons all year, and he was so staunchly defending his viewpoint. So wrong. I've never seen someone so wrong. So I'd like to formally apologize to all of the listeners, all the watchers, all the viewers, because of how wrong Frank was, because I wasn't around to keep him in check.
I'm going to be the bigger person because we're going to just go into an argument right off the bat. I'm not going to respond to that, but you are ridiculous.
Look, he's right to the fans on behalf of you, so you're welcome. Now, moving on. In completely irrelevant news, we have no news and notes. Tom Brady's going to be an analyst. No one cares. Cool, good for you, Tom Brady. I think he's going to be not good, and that they overpaid a ton for him.
Did you see his contract?
Yeah. He's getting paid like Patrick Mahomes money to be an analyst.
$370 million. I'm I know Tony Romo is the lead at it, but
Tom Brady's not going to be good as a Tom
Brady's
Brady
a genius, but I don't know how he's going to be as a throughout the game broadcast.
We already spent too much time on it. He's not going to be good. Fox overpaid. I could have told you that. Make me the executive producer of Fox. It's football. Everyone's going to watch. No one's tuning in simply because Tom Brady's there. They're just tuning in for football. All right. The Ravens signed Mike Davis. Cool. If that has people worried about Dobbins, good for them. Go snatch Dobbins from them. I mean, I don't even love Dobbins that much, but
I love Dobbins. I still think Dobbins owners should be happy that they didn't draft a running back. Kind of even the first 4 rounds, never mind the entire draft, because I know before the draft we talked about it. They invited a ton of the running backs over. They had meetings with Brian Robinson, Spiller. I'm not sure about Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, but I know they were scouting Dameon Pierce. They were scouting a ton of running backs. I would just be happy they didn't draft one. Mike Davis doesn't really. I still like Dobbins just as much.
Or bring in what's his name, Melvin Gordon, because that would have been
somewhat better.
Yeah, that would have been way more scary than Mike Davis. Dude, Mike Davis is not going to be the lead back in any offense, let alone the Ravens. I mean, maybe he gets a handful of carries, but I agree. As of right now, there was some concerns for Dobbin heading into the draft, heading into free agency. As of right now, a lot of those concerns can kind of be alleviated, and you're just hoping that he's good off the injury.
Yeah, 1,000%. He looked good as a rookie. I'm still excited about Dobbins. I have him as a top 10 dynasty running back. This doesn't change anything for me.
Barring the addition of Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones, Will Fuller, it's looking like this is a Ravens team that is very much poised to run the ball a lot again. So I think the volume should be there.
Well, what's interesting is that Dobbins' price from the very end of the season has kind of dropped a little bit,
which is weird.
Yeah, there was enough smoke. There's enough smoke to cause panic.
I think the offseason overall has been good for him for the reasons Frank listed. They didn't sign a Melvin Gordon type, who is better than a Mike Davis. They didn't draft a Brian Robinson, who are about to get into another young running back who that happened to. I would be happy with the offseason if I'm a Dobbins, if I have Dobbins on my team.
I mean, he's climbed back a little bit, but it's actually kind of shocking that he's behind Dalvin Cook on keep trade. I just didn't expect that because of the age concerns with Dalvin, but I don't know what's going on, Skull Dynasty. I think there is the problem I have with Dobbins. I love Dobbins long term still. I think he's a great runner. I think that offense is pretty creative, and they showed in his rookie year that they're willing to get him the ball in different ways, especially because he's not one of these really great pass catching backs. but they used him on like little jet sweeps and in 2 running back kind of formations, especially in the red zone, where he was a touchdown monster.
I was about to say, yeah, they used him in the red zone a ton as a rookie.
But dude, the ACL does concern me for immediate production next year.
Maybe immediate, like maybe I guess the first 1 to 3 weeks. But I mean, like I said, this is Dynasty. Long term, I like him. I think by the end of the season, he'll have proven to be a very valuable asset and still be a top 10 Dynasty back after the end of the upcoming regular season. I mean, I've always just been high on him. And then just long term, I feel great about him, especially as long as he's paired with Lamar Jackson and it's like a run first offense. Like you mentioned, I think it's going to be heavy run offense also. So yeah, I still love Dobbins a ton.
Yeah, but I like Dobbins too. But at some point, because I think before in the very beginning of the offseason, I thought that Dobbins was a little bit overrated. He was RB8, RB9 territory, firmly in the top 10 and valued pretty highly. Then once the concerns started to get priced in, I thought he was relatively fairly priced at like that low end RB1, high end RB2. Okay, fine. If he now ascends back to where he was, then I'm not sure if I'm hard selling, but I might look to see what I can get potentially. I don't know. JT, what do you think? I guess the one concern I have is that the Hollywood Brown stuff. I know this is going to be a weird example, and people are going to think it's cheap because I'm just comparing 2 Ravens players. But if you remember, like Hollywood, his second year, I believe it was, going into his third year, had a ton of hype, or maybe it was after his rookie year. He didn't hugely underperform, but he underperformed expectations of being a wide receiver 1. And everyone crucified him for it. And his price still hasn't fully recovered. If you compare him to any other like 24-year-old receiver who got 145 targets, it's like it took him getting traded to the Cardinals to finally not get murdered and be considered like a top 25 receiver. What if that happens to Dobbins off, like everyone's hyping him up, he underperforms because of the ACL, and then his price never fully recovers?
Well, here's kind of the issue with Dobbins right now in terms of where he's ranked on Keep Trade Cut is he's just in the mix with so many other running backs. So on Keep Trade Cut, Dalvin Cook's running back 9, right? From Dalvin Cook to David Montgomery, who's running back 19, there's not a lot that separates these players in terms of value and like what you could get for a Dalvin Cook on top of David Montgomery, what you could get for Dalvin Cook. Like you
might
get
go,
like a second.
Real quick, when you listed them, I can go one higher. I mean, I'm admittedly a huge J.K. Dobbins fan. I'd take him over Ekeler in Dynasty. Not for next season alone, but for Dynasty. And Ekeler's RB8.
The issue more so where this lies, though, to me, is like you have like all of these running backs who nothing's really separating them in terms of value. I just think you have drastically different running backs in what they can do and where they are in their career. So like you have the elite or, supposedly elite running backs that we expect to be elite in Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry, all behind J.K. Dobbins. Like those are 3 very good running backs that are all currently behind J.K. Dobbins. And meanwhile, you have someone like Kenneth Walker, who we haven't seen a whole lot from yet. We have actually seen nothing from yet. He's had 1 good season in college. He got solid draft capital and a decent landing spot, but he's right next to Dobbins. Like, it's just so diametrically opposed in where Dobbins is ranked that at the price you're getting him, I just think you're taking on a big risk. Like, there's a lot of good running backs underneath him that I still think will give you a good 2 to 3 years in the likes of Saquon Barkley, even Alvin Kamara, who I think I would rather have than Dobbins, which feels weird because I'm supposed to be the age guy and the Tinder girl JT. But I mean, at the end of the day, points matter. And I think when you have the guy coming off the ACL tear, like Frank said, and he might not be up to speed right away, I just would rather bank on the points that I know I'm getting in the likes of Kamara and, pending potential suspension. But I don't think he's going to at this point if they haven't done it already. So, yeah, to me, Just give me the veteran guys.
What mainly scares me about Dobbins is that he really has to be an elite runner to be.
He's currently ranked at running back 10.
Running back, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he I thought he was a relatively poor pass catcher coming out. I might want to pull up his rookie stats, but like I said before, when I watched the Ravens, I felt like they manufactured like little touch pass bullshit that may have inflated his reception numbers. But like, okay, comparing him to Saquon Barkley, we're talking about the dude that holds the rookie reception record, right? Who was like the number 2 overall pick and still 25, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I agree. I'd rather have Saquon.
I know, but Dobbins was a really good runner his rookie year. I don't know. I know, Frank, you said you didn't pull up the stats. I mean, his stats, his rookie season, obviously receiving wise, there's a lot to be wished for. He only had 18 catches for 120 yards. But rushing wise, he had 805 rushing yards on 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, the thing is that he's going to have to keep, like, look at a guy like Nick Chubb.
The offense helps him. That offense, the Lamar threat helps him, and that's part of like.
I think the offense actually could kind of hurt him in the fact that I don't think he's taking on the full workhorse load in that offense.
That's what I'm saying. You have to look at Nick Chubb. He has to be a Nick Chubb level runner because I agree with JT. He's not going to be this guy that's getting Derrick Henry or he's getting Christian McCaffrey, where they're just giving him the ball anytime the running back touches the ball, unless he needs a breather. This Ravens team has always used kind of a committee back system. Yes, he'll get the high value touches and he could be an RB1, but that's what the price is. You're paying for an RB1, a low end RB1. Do you think he's Nick Chubb? And I mean, if you're paying for him, can he go up? I don't think he can go up really that much from his current price tag.
I mean,
theoretically,
if you want to debate who's going to finish higher specifically for next season, I think it's close. If we're talking dynasty, I'm taking Dobbins over Chubb.
If Dobbins has a running back 1 season, even if that's running back 10 overall,
which I think is very possible.
It's in his
I take Dobbins over Chubb. I mean, I think they're relatively the same, but I might just do it because of the age.
The age is a factor with running backs.
Yeah, to me, he's just a weird one that basically any running back that is not Jonathan Taylor, and even Jonathan Taylor, I might consider selling for the right price. Like Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, kind of, CMC, Saquon, Kamara, like those 5, I think, are the only ones that I like having on my team at their current price. After that, like.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Like the days of like a full workhorse, like as the years go on and even now, like you can't really expect that a ton of times. So guys, like I think Dobbins, what he's projected to get is like more than reasonable.
Is it worth moving off Dobbins? Just talk strategy here with me, guys, right? Like don't even worry about what your running back situation is on your team. Like you could have 12, you could have 1 running back on your team. Is it worth moving off the likes of a J.K. Dobbins for DJ Moore, Treylon Burks, Deontay Johnson, Garrett Wilson type player? Like, because that's currently what he's ranked around. Like, would you move off Dobbins into that kind of player that's more? I mean, basically all of those guys. Well, the 2 veterans I said are still young and they've shown that they could put up very good seasons, and then the other 2 are solid prospects.
Say the full list again.
Maybe I'll take I'm going to take the rookies out just because, we haven't seen the rookies play it. But like DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, those are the players that I currently, or Devontae's a little higher than JK, to be fair.
That's a good question. Oh, fuck.
I think what I would do is, and this isn't really answering your question, I'm sorry, Lounis, you can think about that, because I don't really know if I would want to move off of Dobbins for one of those receivers. What I would want to do, if I was scared for Dobbins and wanted to cash out on the price, is try and see if I could move Dobbins and like a mid-second this year, because I don't like the mid-second. I think it's overpriced, for Aaron Jones and a 24 first.
Now you're saying a 2022 second.
Yes, a mid-second this year. If I had 204, 205, 206, I don't know if that would work. I have no idea. But Dobbins in that for Aaron Jones and a 24 first, to me, feels like I can get the points that I'm expecting out of Dobbins now, park my value in the first round pick,
I think that would
try to pull off a move like that. I don't know if it would work, but I would. If I'm scared of Dobbins, I'd rather do that than try and transition into a receiver where I'm not sure I get the points, or if I even can move into a receiver I like. I would try that first.
I understand that. I like that trade idea.
Now, that being said, I have Dobbins, and I still don't know if I'm going to do that.
I wouldn't say, like, how do you feel about Dobbins heading in? Oh, I mean, you kind of said
I don't know. I love Dobbins. I think he's a fantastic talent. But I understand the concerns. I'm not out here screaming that Dobbins should be RB9. I mean, if I made a list of all the running backs, he might end up as the RB9. But do I feel like he really should be a top 10 running back? And am I gung-ho about it? Being like, fuck yeah, baby. Dobbins top 10. No, I'm not. So I don't really know what to do.
I think the bigger issue, too, is the players that I think you could have moved off of, or the players that I think you could have moved your running backs off of into safer, productive running backs and gotten a bunch on top, now no longer are giving you that bunch on top. And that's because the players I'm referencing to are Leonard Fournette, James Conner, like these kind of players that had uncertainty that no longer have that uncertainty. Like they're the workhorse running back in their role. Like you kind of missed the boat. And now at this point, when I look at where the mock drafts are currently shaped up, the startups, when I look at keep, trade, cut, to me, it's just like you're not getting a lot of value from the running back position, like moving up and down the ladder. But if you could do something along the likes of J.K. Dobbins and a second for Aaron Jones and a first, I would definitely do that, because I think you're right. I think you're just keeping your points, but getting
honestly,
future value.
JT, what you made me think when you said, and you're right, that all these running backs from Dalvin Cook all the way down to David Montgomery are valued basically the same from manager to manager. There might be people that would take David Montgomery straight up over Dalvin Cook, and there'll be a guy who's saying that Saquon Barkley should be above all of them, and then there'll be another dude who's saying like, oh, I'll take Travis Etienne. Like,
the thing is,
what all that says is that there's going to be volatility come the season. Come the season, these guys are going to be going up, down, sideways, because as of right now, it just feels like the market is reserved. We're just waiting. We're waiting to see who blasts off in the beginning of the season, and they're going to get the crazy value jump.
Yeah. No, I'd agree.
Because currently, according to Keep Trade Cut, which again we reference all the time, like who knows how realistic this is, but according to them, it's just a third round pick that separates the likes of Dalvin Cook to David Montgomery. That is 10 running backs that are in between that range. So you're saying these 10 running backs are all within a third round pick of each other in a rookie draft, like not like a startup third round pick. This is a rookie draft third round pick that's separating 10 running backs. To me, that means they're all just basically the same value. So it's a weird spot where I don't want any of them, but besides Saquon, I just really want Saquon at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of running backs, let's keep going.
All right. A little this or that.
Yeah, a quick little this or that. Pick one. This is for you, Lounis.
Yeah.
Lounis, pick one. Josh Jacobs or Antonio Gibson?
I'm taking Antonio Gibson. I like Jacobs, but this was actually kind of easy for me. I know everyone's panicking on Gibson right now because Brian Robinson got drafted. They brought back McKissick. It's like the coach gave the quote about the D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart tandem with what he wants to do in Washington. for me, Gibson is just still too talented for me not to take him over Jacobs, who's like, they both, in my opinion, have injury concerns. The Raiders just showed you how they feel about him with declining his fifth-year option and drafting a running back. I still do think Jacobs is super talented, but like, they declined, and I get the option is maybe too much than like what they would like to do for an extension. I'm taking Gibson just because one is over time, especially as a pass catcher. I just feel way better about him. I think Gibson is the type to have more fantasy relevance for a longer stretch in his career than Jacobs with his receiving ability. And I know, and like last season, I know maybe some people were disappointed in general, besides like the very end. He was dealing with that toe injury all year. He's going to have an offseason to get healthy. I think next year, Gibson looks great. And by the end of next season, I think there'll be a pretty decently big difference in value between Gibson and Jacobs.
I think the problem you're running into is Antonio Gibson is just not going to be that 3-down guy. Like, they kind of just showed us.
Do you think Jacobs is?
No, but I think we're Gibson, I think Gibson's still currently kind of valued as if he could have that 3-down role.
Okay. Well, that might be a different question. Are you asking me Gibson versus
no,
Jacobs and value, or just straight up? Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I don't like Gibson at this point or at his price, but I still think Josh Jacobs is one of those guys who's just kind of, he gives you that mediocre, safe floor production, but not much else. And I guess I'd still rather go with the potential boom of Antonio Gibson. But to me, Frank's used this line before. I just take the gun. Like, I don't really want either of these guys at this point.
I'm going to go off the beaten path a little bit. I think I'd rather have Josh Jacobs. It's very close between the two. It's not like I'd firmly rather have Josh Jacobs, but the reason being is a couple. First off, when I watch Antonio Gibson for the Commanders, I really just don't see a very explosive running back. So to me, that means that you have to do all the little things right. Kind of like Ezekiel Elliott, how he's been able to stay relevant without having that crazy burst. He doesn't mess up the plays. He executes the run scheme at an extremely good level. He has insanely good vision, and he does the dirty work in the passing game. To me, I don't feel like I get that full package out of Antonio Gibson. And at the same time, even though Josh Jacobs' numbers were down last year, he was used more in the passing game. And when the Raiders, when push came to shove for that team to make the playoffs at the very end of the season and start winning games, they relied on Josh Jacobs for a lot of it to get 20-plus carries and really produce. And that's when they were really winning games and hitting their stride. So
I will say this. How much of an effect with them leaning on Josh Jacobs was Darren Waller, who was the star of their offense, being out?
Darren Waller, the star of their offense. I mean, the guy was pretty garbage for a lot of last year. I mean, let's just be real. Like, he was still the most
talented player on that offense. Obviously, now it's Devontae Adams. Now it's Devontae Adams.
If we're talking about production, it was not Cooper Kupp. I mean, it was their Cooper Kupp. It was freaking Renfro. Renfro was the dude that was giving defenses all the problems.
Yeah, once Waller got hurt.
Once Waller got hurt, Darren Waller had one good game, the beginning of the first game of the season. And other than that, like, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but watching the damn Raiders games, I had Waller last year. I was a big Waller guy. Him and Carr were not on the same page. I mean, it was pretty trash. Waller's production, it felt like, for the amount of targets he got.
In the beginning of the year, it was mostly him and Ruggs. Then obviously Ruggs had his situation. And then once Waller went down, like I said, similar, you don't have the stats in front of me, but I can pull these up eventually if we want to. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, the slot receiver, Renfro. Renfro's stats jumped when Waller got injured. Waller got injured on Thanksgiving in that Dallas game. So November 25th. After that, Renfro went on a crazy stretch at the end of the season where he was like a top maybe like 8 receiver.
I I think the bigger question, though, is how much does Josh McDaniels scare you off Josh Jacobs? Or does that make you buy into Josh Jacobs more? To me, it scares me off.
I don't think the
Josh
coaching
Jacobs.
change really impacts it for me all that much. I
still generally feel the same about Jacobs.
But the thing is, I think it might be more just of a knock on Gibson, because I agree with Joe Herbert. He said Gibson seems to have a ceiling he will never reach.
I agree with that too.
Gibson's ceiling, though, is like...
It's Christian McCaffrey is his ceiling, but he's just never going to
top
touch
5.
That. He's not coming
That's
close.
Gibson's ceiling. He doesn't need to reach top 5 to beat out Jacobs.
That is a good point that Parker brings up. We got to make the Dynasty League with all the people. Oh, all right. If you guys want to join the Dynasties, I have Skull Dynasty sleeper name. Drop your sleeper name in here.
We'll go back and grab some.
And I'll start and I'll make the league.
Do you think it'd be better in the chat or in the comments to leave this?
In the chat, I'll copy and paste it from the chat. If you guys want to be in the Dynasty League, it'll be like a $20-$25 Dynasty League on Sleeper through League Safe. And I guess we'll just draft as soon as we fill it up. But we got another Would You Rather here, another pick one. This is a very interesting one. Austin Ekeler or Nick Chubb?
Yeah.
I feel like this is almost a battle between, do you want the production now, but betting on a guy that probably has a worse long-term outlook? Or do you want the guy who's just the better talent, the guy whose carries have kind of been managed, and just a more sustained production over a couple of years?
We should clarify in the beginning, as we've mentioned before, when we reference these one or the other, it's half PPR. Because I understand if someone's playing in a standard league or a fully PPR league, maybe you lean one way or the other. We're referencing half PPR. I just wanted to give that disclaimer.
I think I'd rather have Nick Chubb. I know, I'm gonna come off again as the Austin Ekeler hater, but this is Austin Ekeler, to me, I think has a little bit of that one-hit wonder kind of vibe.
He's done it more than 1 year.
Yeah, but the thing is that he hasn't really been the top 10 running back with massive expectations before.
That's fair.
On top of the fact that I do think that the Browns offense might actually feed Nick Chubb more, especially if Kareem Hunt ends up getting cut, which I think there is a decent chance that post June 1st, he could be let go by the Browns. All of a sudden, if that scenario happens, we really could see a Nick Chubb that is getting a good amount of the workload in Cleveland, that is leaning on him, and that has a potentially good offense behind him in the pass game with an actual quarterback.
A question to both of you. Does Deshaun Watson being on Cleveland affect your answer for this?
Well, no.
I will count in more scoring opportunities.
No, it doesn't. Because my answer is Ekeler.
Okay.
Who I like Nick Chubb. I have Nick Chubb on more multiple teams. Nick Chubb's solid, but it's just Austin Ekeler to me is still someone that I see having he could potentially be the running back 1 on the year, where Nick Chubb, I think he gets you, running back 5 potentially. He could be in that realm, but I just don't see him having that running back 1 potential anymore. Even if Kareem Hunt gets moved, because I just think this is a Browns team that has refused to use Nick Chubb the way that a top 3 running back should be used for the most part since Kevin Stefanski has joined. So if the Browns won't use him like that, then why am I going to try and just hope that Kareem Hunt gets moved and then that all of a sudden springs Nick Chubb forward? I don't think it will. And with Austin Ekeler tied to Justin Herbert in that offense where he has shown that he could be that top running back option, Isaiah Spiller is someone that I used to really like. He doesn't really scare me a whole lot. And to be honest, it doesn't even really matter because Melvin Gordon was there. And I think Melvin Gordon was a significantly better prospect than Isaiah Spiller. And even with Melvin Gordon there, Austin Ekeler still did fine. I don't know. It feels weird saying it because I don't think of myself as the Austin Ekeler guy. I'm not going out my way to get Austin Ekeler.
I actually really, really like Austin Ekeler. And so again, I want to clarify. We're talking for who would you rather have in Dynasty, not specifically next season.
Yes.
Bro, how many? This is the Dynasty Podcast Lounis.
I know.
Why do we have to clarify this?
I know. Okay. I do like Austin Ekeler. If he finished ahead of Chubb next season, would not surprise me. I'm taking Chubb just off. I mean, to put in the short terms, because Frank really explained well. I don't want to repeat his points. Just off talent, I just think he's a much more talented running back than Ekeler. And for me, I know you guys said it didn't. Watson does. It's not a lot, but it plays a little bit of a part. I do appreciate more of those scoring opportunities. Like Aaron Jones had all those top seasons. Do you think he would have had all those scoring opportunities? Like if he didn't have Rodgers and he had like just some, I don't know, random quarterback instead.
Yeah,
but that does play a part for me.
But all the Texans running backs though. Like they ain't.
I think one thing
none of them
we're
are
not
ever
taking
on
into
Chubb's
account
level.
is that I feel like a lot of the more talented running backs see their peak production at 26, 27-year-old seasons. When I watched Nick Chubb last year, I mean, that Browns offense was a fucking mess. But he was, dude, he's a fucking
he did his
beast.
part.
He is insane.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how, with the level that Nick Chubb is at right now, where he is really putting it all together, and if you don't have Kareem Hunt, how are you not feeding this dude the football? If you are really trying to be a good
the Browns.
team to make
the Browns going to
playoffs, like, dude, how are you not doing that? This guy is amazing.
Well,
he still had, like we talk about it like he was like, all right, last year. He still had 1,260 yards on 5.5 yards per carry.
Nick Chubb
he's averaged over 5 yards
I think
per
he's
carry every season,
dude. I think he's going to explode. You look at some, because I think that Nick Chubb has got gold jacket level talent.
He does.
Look at some of the other gold jacket level running backs and when they had their best season.
As a runner, I won't disagree with you, but to me, it's just like I don't think he's going to get the usage. I like Nick Chubb a lot. I think he's a top 10, definitely borderline top 5 option for this season. Like I think he should be picked in regular fantasy drafts in the first round easily. But to me, it's just like he's not going to get that kind of Austin Ekeler where he gets all those passes and everything, and it kind of just puts a cap on what he could be. Because I think even with Kareem Hunt gone, you're still going to see Dearness Johnson get a bunch of touches. Not that I like Dearness Johnson, but Dearness Johnson is going to get a bunch of touches.
As a Steelers fan, I am just afraid of them giving Chubb the ball 25 times. Because, like, you will beat us. Like, stop throwing it. If you just gave him the ball a bunch of times, you're going to win. Like,
I get that feeling. No, that was very me with as the Eagles against the Cowboys when Zeke was, like, in his second season. Like, second, third season, when he was, like, just being ridiculous at that point. That's how I felt at the time too, so I get it.
Like I feel like a lot of those games would go like how the Vikings game went with the Steelers last year, where it's like Dalvin Cook is just going crazy. It's like, bro, you guys have a good O-line. Just who cares if the box is stacked? Just run it. Like just keep feeding them.
We got a question in chat. Would you trade London and Dotson for Pittman and an early 23 first? Well, those are
an early 23 first.
Those are two of Frank's guys, and I still think Frank's going after the first.
I'm taking the 23 first.
This is a dicey question here because are you guaranteed early? Like, because we have an orphan league where it's like, okay, we know who the top 2 picks are going to be. Is it like for sure this is a top 2 pick kind of early first, or is this oh yeah, his team is bad, but meanwhile he's got like a couple stud players and he just doesn't have depth?
If you're telling me that it's top 4, I'm taking the Pittman 23 first side. If you can just tell me that it's going to be top 4, I'll take that side.
Yeah, assuming you're like, there's no chance this guy makes the playoffs. Give me that side.
The 23, the top of next draft class.
Guaranteed, all caps guaranteed. Yeah,
guaranteed. Oh, that team is ass. I would love to see what that team looks like. Or he's like fully confident. He's like, yeah, they're gonna be top 2.
All right, dude. Lappy wants his team
I would take
breakdown.
the 23 first side.
All right, you want to do team breakdowns before the rookie guide?
All right, we could do a team breakdown.
We could do one. We could do one team breakdown, one rookie draft guide, one team breakdown.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let me see if I can get this on the screen so that we can get Lappy's team. I should have had this ready beforehand, but whatever. Bang. If you're interested on what this is, this bad boy, this is thirdand20.com. All right, so Lappy, that's in the home league. This is my account, by the way. Bang time at the top, NBD, but don't take the total team values too seriously because the picks are wildly overvalued. Well, let's go into Lappy's team here. This is the team, one of two teams that he wanted analyzed. So let's look at this bad boy. His team is on the screen. He's got Javonte Williams, Dak Prescott, DK Metcalf, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Derek Carr, TJ Hawkinson. He's got some 24 firsts. Is that correct? Ayuk, Brandon Cooks, some late picks in 23 this year. And his team is relatively balanced out overall. So what would this, oh wait, did we want to do in the 3rd and 20 league? I think I'm doing the wrong team. Actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you're doing the home league.
All right, well, we're doing his home. He has 2 of them, so let's do his home league first. Let's see what he wants to do.
I was going to say, I don't think he has like a 12, 20, 22 picks.
I mean, your team looks pretty balanced in this league. Clearly, you could use some help at receiver.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Now, the question is, how do you go about getting that help at receiver? And kind of what is the game plan? Because right now, you have a lot of risk at running back. I think that's the first thing I'd like to point out because Javonte Williams, great player. He's valued as like a top 5 back and by a good margin. So ultimately, from a guy that hasn't necessarily proven a ton, there's risk there on top of the fact that like the backs behind him, Saquon Barkley, a dude that is boom or bust, another one. Derrick Henry, just old. I think he's relatively safe for good production this year. But I feel like you almost have to move off of one of these running backs.
And you have receiver help?
That's my initial opinion looking at this squad. Because for a couple of reasons. First off, you know, in leagues where I built out through running backs, I like to have a stable crop of picks just because the running backs, the variance is so freaking crazy, right? That I like to have, and it doesn't have to be like a slew of firsts. It could just be a little bit of upgraded draft capital. Okay, I have my first next year and 2 seconds and 2/3. Okay, I have 2 firsts next year and then the rest of my draft picks. Not having a slew of draft picks, or at least you've traded draft picks behind running backs, to me just kind of makes me feel a little bit queasy because you have to be comfortable. If you're going to build through running backs, you have to be comfortable knowing that these dudes could just explode and become nothing overnight.
Yeah, for me, I think I'd shop the market between Saquon and Derrick Henry. I'm not saying to just trade them just to trade them, because if you don't find the correct value, I wouldn't take it, because obviously I think they're both going to have productive seasons. It's just mostly, I know you have Derrick Henry in one of the flex spots. It's the other flex spot. And then how much do you believe in Cooks and Ayuk, especially Ayuk with now the Trey Lance offense and looks like Debo staying. I would see what I could shop for both of those. I do think it's interesting, and we should take into account, he has 2 2024 picks. I think those are pretty valuable assets. I know that sounds like basic, but I just mean in terms of like the trades you can do, trying to move into that 23 draft so you can get some immediate help, because I think your roster is pretty close to competing.
I just think the problem with trading 24 picks right now is that they're valued as if they're 2022 picks. And I don't think that the 2024 draft class is a particularly bad one.
I don't think it is either.
Stone, but I think there's some pretty darn good players in the first round right now.
I don't think it is either. I only meant to like possibly get into the 2023 draft class just for kind of more immediate help. Because again,
but you got to pay a premium on those picks.
This isn't. I mean, you don't have to do it right now, but this is a roster that's like it's close. Like you don't have to wait 2 years.
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather than trade those picks for players to help you instead of moving in the 2023 draft?
Oh, you can do players also. I was more so just making the concept of the concept of using those picks 2 years in advance to try to help you sooner, whether it be for players now or for 23 draft picks. And obviously the value has to be right. The value has to be right. You don't force anything like, and Lappy, I know you know that. But
I just think one of the things he could do is that Derek Carr. I don't think that Derek Carr is worth this much. I like Derek Carr.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because I was just workshopping some trades that I could see if he could do. And that included Derek Carr and packaging him with Javonte Williams and seeing what he could get. Now, you could go and get an elite kind of player like Keep Trade Cut says that basically equals Jonathan Taylor or Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. You could get that kind of player. To me, I don't think that necessarily makes sense for this team though, because then you're moving two players into one player and you're kind of just going back to square one. I'd say like you're moving a top tier running back to a top tier quarterback kind of thing. I mean, doesn't really help a team that looks like it could currently compete, you know? So,
I mean, no, if you're going to do a Javonte trade, like if I'm trading Javonte, I'm going for Pitts or one of those like top receivers.
I was thinking about trading Javonte. I don't think trading Javonte is the move here.
I don't think it is, but I'm saying if you are going to, like, you got to go for like an elite premium.
What side would you guys rather have in the likes of Derek Carr and Javonte for Trevor Lawrence, J.K. Dobbins, and Jarvis Landry?
Trevor Lawrence.
I think I'd rather have the Lawrence side.
Well, that's something that Keep Trade Cut says you could do. And that's probably something I think I'd move into, where you're actually getting younger. I don't think you're losing any points because I don't see Javonte significantly outscoring.
I think him and Dobbins are going to be pretty close, yeah.
And you're picking up that wide receiver that is a veteran wide receiver. Now, the person in this league doesn't have Jarvis Landry, so I don't know. We'd have to work around that a little bit. But you pick up some kind of veteran player in there that could dominate targets on whatever team he ends up with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's like a solid move that keeps you. It actually makes you a little bit younger because you're moving from Derek Carr to Trevor Lawrence. You know, J.K. Dobbins and Javonte are essentially like, I think there's maybe a year between them, and you're gaining depth. And I don't think you missed out on any points. If anything, you're making points because you're picking up that veteran player that should, you know, get you 10, 12 points a week.
I think in a perfect world, I would love to just downgrade Derek Carr and pick up like some sort of depth receiver.
Well, is Tannehill below Derek Carr?
Yeah. I mean,
but it's significantly worse than Derek
Now,
Carr.
I think the thing is that fantasy, I might even shoot for more bottom of the barrel and try to go with like a Jameis. He might not be the best example, but someone around there.
Derek Carr is going to be a starter for a while.
Derek Carr
that's the value for me over like even
what's a while?
Not even Jameis, but a Tannehill. I think Derek Carr is going to be starting for way more.
Yeah, but the thing is that I would want to pick up that value difference in the form of a receiver. And because, dude, here's the thing that I think with this team. This team, what is Derek Carr doing for me? He's an overpriced QB2 for this team. I don't think Derek Carr is going to come out here and be a top 8 quarterback in points per game. I really don't.
No, but he's going to be starting for a while.
I don't care because guess what? He has 24 picks and 23 picks and seconds and shit. I can go and trade for a starting quarterback. What I want is more receivers. I want potentially a second tight end that I can put in a tight end premium league. What this team needs, in my opinion, because we have great running backs, We have a stud quarterback. We have a couple good receivers. We just need to make this team just the flexes. Because I don't. Where am I getting the flexes at? What are my flexes? What am I flexing every week?
One of them's. It depends what you want to do between.
I need to rely on a guy like Nelson Aguilar in my flex spot. Marvin Jones.
There is still Derrick Henry or Saquon.
Miles Gaskin. That's what I think the problem with this team is. So if I can break down Derek Carr into a short-term starting quarterback, yes, it's not going to be a sexy move, but I could potentially net a better flex receiver than the flex receivers on this team, plus draft picks to move into more flex players. And then all of a sudden, yes, I may ruin some of my perfect longevity, but I think I'm trading a quarterback 2 that's priced at a quarterback 1. And I'm getting another quarterback 2 that just doesn't have the longevity. And guess what? My quarterback is Dak Prescott. The other quarterbacks, I will buy every year. I will buy starting quarterbacks. I will trade for the guy who's thrusted into a starting lineup. And I already have high-quality handcuffs and guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, Tyler Huntley, and guys of that nature. So I just want to downgrade Derek Carr.
Never forget chat saying they wouldn't give up Huntley for like a second. I think
it was the first.
Yeah,
it was the first.
Now, like Lounis, you're saying Tannehill like significantly worse. I disagree. I think Keep Trade Cut says you could move Derek Carr for Tannehill and like a Tyler Lockett, a Damian Harris, Mike Gesicki. Take your pick. 205. Tannehill's finished as a top 8 quarterback twice. Derek Carr's never finished as a top 10 quarterback.
I'm not doubting his fantasy ability. I'm just thinking in a dynasty perspective. Between Derek Carr and Tannehill, I think
that's even more of a reason to trade for Tannehill.
I think they have the same longevity.
Oh, you think they have the same longevity?
I don't think Derek Carr. His price has gotten so high.
Look at Derek Carr.
Derek Carr and Derrick Henry are the same price. Derrick Henry on your team in terms of wins over replacement and his impact on your team, the gap is miles. Derek Carr is an average quarterback for fantasy.
Do you think the Raiders, when they take a good hard look at their team and they see their division has Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Russell Wilson in it, they look at Derek Carr.
It doesn't need to be in Vegas. I still think he'd be starting somewhere else.
Yeah, but Ryan Tannehill would be starting somewhere else if he wasn't in Tennessee either. Ryan Tannehill is
he looks shaky without Derrick Henry, man.
Like Derek Carr is just like average his entire career.
I'm supposed to be the Derek Carr hater.
Before he had his injury and had that kind of MVP-like season, which Carson Wentz also had an MVP-like season. Like Derek Carr has been just incredibly average. Like he's just a middle of the pack quarterback. And where he's valued, I think
I'm looking real quick.
I think this is the highest Derek Carr's price will ever be for the rest of his career is today. Right now.
It just would need to be the right value trade. I'm not fully against trading him. I was mostly just refuting the Tannehill versus Carr thing. If you can get as good a value as you're mentioning for Carr, I get it. I'm looking at the chat. Parker said Carr for Wentz plus Dotson. I like the idea of Carr for Elijah Moore plus. I'm a huge Elijah Moore fan.
Then who's your second quarterback though? Because then you'd have to still go out and get. I don't think Jimmy G is starting in San Fran. I think that would be something has gone wrong with Trey Lance, like terribly wrong. If Jimmy G is still starting in San Fran.
Oh yeah.
So you still need you need to get that quarterback somehow.
I think the other thing, you have this 2022 mid-round pick. That probably should be a receiver, but if the receivers all go in the rookie draft, this could be a pick that you could trade for a non-sexy player that will play and that you can flex that's going to be better than Myles Gaskin and Kenyon Drake and Marvin Jones and Nelson Aguilar.
That's a lot of yikes.
Because this is the problem with this team right here is that you've done all the hard stuff. You've got the really good running backs. You have the stud quarterback. You have the stud receivers and things. You just need that championship level flex players. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a receiver. Like I said earlier, that could be another tight end. I mean, in these tight end premium leagues, if you can pick up a good tight end like a Cole Kmet, that might be better than overpaying for an average receiver.
You like Cole Kmet?
I think Cole Kmet is in line for getting over 100 targets, and he's nowhere near priced like it. All right, let's move on. You want to move on to his 3rd and 20 team, the team we were supposed to do?
Yeah, let's look at his 3rd and 20 team.
All right, here we go. I mean, once again, you can see how overpowered the draft picks are because his team is wildly in front of everyone else. That's my bad there, but
oh yeah, the 3rd and 20 league. He has pretty much every first round pick except for mine. I'm like the only one.
Well, yeah, you can see the list here. This is hilarious. He has 2022 pick 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Well, we could kind of just...
And then 3 2023 firsts.
And 3 2024 firsts.
And 3 2023 seconds. And 2 2024. Holy
I think a lot of that had to do with trading Kyle Pitts.
But yeah, his roster is then Javonte Williams, Mac Jones, Pat Freiermuth, and
you could tell he's a Javonte Williams guy. Yeah, Jordan Love. He's got 3 running backs on his roster.
I mean, just look at this pie chart. 3/4 of his team's value is draft picks.
So, I mean, first off, you have a running back in the QB2. From there, I mean, the first thing I'm thinking is trying to flip 1 or 2 of those firsts into the 2023 draft or 2024 draft. Because obviously, it's like you're not competing next year. I'm trying to flip.
He already has first 3 2023 first or 2. How many 2023?
He has 3 and 3 in both of those drafts.
Get more.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, Lounis. I think I might rather go for just better investment plays where it's like going into players, because the only problem with going into 2023 picks is that the jury is out.
I'm also including 2024, which 2024 are kind of being undervalued right now.
The thing is that I think the best way to handle this team is that this year you have to make pure value plays. And you have to realize that you hold all of the leverage in a lot of these draft day trades. People are going to make it like you don't, but you do. You have to be the one forcing the initiative. If someone says that they're semi-interested in trading up, you need to be the one going out and crafting the offers, because people are going to have a hard time trying to value these draft picks because they're going to think that you are just a draft pick connoisseur and that you're only going to accept overpays, because that's just the way that the news is going to go. But you need to come out here and force the initiative. Make trades to everyone. I mean, honestly, not even if they're interested. You need to make trades to everyone. Go after the players that you value highly more than the picks and go after it. If none of the trades happen in this draft class, take all the receivers. Take all the receivers. You take Breece Hall and then you take all the receivers. Because the biggest mistake I've seen from people with these 2022 draft pick hauls on Twitter is that with these early seconds, they will take the Isaiah Spillers and the Dameon Pierces and the Rashad Whites over David Bells and over John Mechie's. And I think that while there's more upside there, with your team, fuck upside. You have the upside. You have all these picks. You can trade it for upside. You need floor. You need to just build out your roster. The problem with your other roster is what you are instantly solving in this draft. You are taking all the receivers and like half of them are going to hit. The data analytics will say this is above average receiver class too. And you will instantly have a great platform to trade all those other picks that you've accumulated into the quarterbacks and the running backs to finish your team off. So for the most part, take all the receivers, make a handful of trades if you can for receivers that you like, running backs that you like, quarterback, tight ends, whatever, that you think are going to increase in value, or trade into 2024 with just like, okay, I can trade 108 for a 24 first and a second or something like that. Like, yeah, do those too. And then build yourself a platform to eventually really start pulling the trigger on, okay, I'm going to trade a first round pick for a Mike Williams this year. Like, let's say you were trading 110 for Mike Williams to fill in a receiver spot for points. You know, that will happen next year.
Yeah.
My issue with this is, right, he has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 first round picks, and he somehow managed to miss the sweet spot of picks, I feel like, of the 103 to 106. So I don't know what you do. I would rather try and trade out of 101 and 102 as hard as I can. I know you might be, I don't think Drake London's getting picked at 102, but who knows? Like, I think 102. Who's it currently in mock drafts? I was looking at some earlier.
I mean, it's either like Kenneth Walker, Treylon, or Drake London.
If it's Kenneth Walker, I would love that. If I miss out on Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, fine, so be it. This team doesn't even need running backs right now, and I have 2023 first, where hopefully one of those ends up being Bijan Robinson. I have Bijan Robinson and Javonte as more than enough to have a cornerstone team around in terms of your running backs. I'm moving out of those 101 and 102 as much as I can. Whether that is going, picking up. Do you think you could get? I think you could get a 2023 mid to early first on top of like a second for that 101. I think that's more than doable. A first and a second for that 101. 102, I think same thing. You probably do very similar. Then here's the thing. I think I'd probably I still would want to take the receivers, right? But I think I want to move up and get these receivers. I want to get into that 104, 105, 106 range. And I mean, God, you have the draft capital to do it, right? Like 112 and 201, that's got to put you somewhere in that. Where do you think 112 and 201 puts you?
Probably like 104, 105.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to offer it for 104, 105, and 106, I imagine one of those gets accepted. I don't agree with trading out of 101 and 102 because I want to take those high value prospects right now. I would more so want to trade out of 107, 108, 109.
Oh, I want to trade out of those, but I want to trade those up into 103, 104, 105 because we're going to talk about the draft guide soon.
I might actually. I think that's a good point that I might want to trade up my 110 and 201 into another top 6 pick so that you take 3 of the top 6 players. You invest a lot in those guys, but I would still want to snag because like if you do that, let's say we do that, we do 110 and 201 for 105, which is a little bit of an overpay, but fuck it, we have the draft capital to do so, and we want to get good prospects long term. So then we land 101 Breece Hall, 102 Drake London, 105 Treylon Burks or Garrett Wilson. Then 107, JT, you're not going to agree with this, but I would want to take Jameson Williams. 108,
Sky Moore.
Yeah, Sky Moore at 108. 109, I'll take George Pickens. 110, someone else goes, probably Christian Watson. That's what we hope.
Chris
and then
Olave.
111, Chris Olave. Then 111, I snag Jahan Dotson. 112.
Are you trying to lose me?
112, we trade out. We trade out of 112.
Okay, yeah.
We don't want 112 because someone's going to want James Cook, and we don't want James Cook. There, you just nabbed like 6 nasty receivers. Or
you built a very
112, you just say, fuck it, we're taking David Bell, baby. We're in.
I like David Bell a lot.
David Bell 112 is insane.
It feels high to take David Bell.
I agree with the rest of Frank's plan, but don't do that last part.
I like David Bell a lot, but I just think you get him for cheaper. I have not seen him go in the first in like any month.
I mean, regardless, you just have to make value moves and then try to build up as much of a good foundation for next year. And then next year is when you start really trying to target players for your picks and trying to win.
If you get Drake London, Treylon Burks,
but you say I need more
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. But I'm talking about just for receivers, right?
Well, there's a really good chance you could land Treylon, Drake London, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, and Sky Moore. And you still have another receiver potentially that you could take. You could take Christian Watson if you like him.
And
yeah, that's insane.
You've literally built your receiving core off 1 year. I mean, I think I would have preferred if I could have done it last year or 2 years ago, built that receiving core. But
I think this is still a fine year to do it.
It's a fine year to do it. And yeah, and next year with the running backs and quarterbacks that we expect to come out, I think you build your team in. I think this is a 2-year rebuild.
Exactly,
it's be a really good 2-year
also,
rebuild.
like next year, you can then go out and trade 2 firsts plus one of those receivers and get yourself the stud quarterback to pair with Mac Jones. Then, I mean, if you have Breece Hall and Javonte, your top 2 running backs should be pretty good. You go out and then you trade one of those first. Like this year, a move that you would try to do is that you could trade a 2023 first for David Montgomery. Or next year, you just pick another running back with one of those picks. It's a good running back class, right? Then you have 3 good running backs. You still have, and I would keep it going. I would trade 2024 picks and target more players. And you have the nastiest young core. And then you trade the seconds for more depth. Like, I think that you're in a really good spot. Just don't overthink it.
Yes. All right, are we sticking with the teams, or are we moving on to the rookie guide and bouncing back to the teams?
Yeah, let's move on to the rookie guide because we're already talking about rookie drafts.
Yeah, and we're an hour into the pod.
Yeah, so we're gonna go into the rookie guide. I mean, it's going to be a little bit free form, but basically we're going to kind of start off broad, go into, I mean, we've said a lot of this stuff already, but we're going to kind of surmise it into one post-draft big old thing. So at first, we're going to kind of look at parts of the draft that we do and don't like, the strengths and weaknesses of the draft, and kind of where we would want to position ourselves in these rookie drafts. So let's just start off. This will be quick. The quarterbacks this year are horrible.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst quarterback class in like the past 20 years.
What's the highest you think you're taking Pickett?
20 years?
Both of you.
Is it worse?
I mean, pre-draft, like pre what we know, because
that Geno Smith, EJ Manuel draft was pretty brutal.
Yeah, like obviously, if you want to look at like where everyone was done, like, okay, yeah, that's a horrible
That's
draft,
actually a good point because there were no QBs drafted in the second, so that draft is still better. I was just wanting to know for what pick is the highest you guys are taking Pickett?
Kenny Pickett? I know the saying is don't let the quarterbacks drop. Well, actually,
he's still a first round.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of good running backs.
Maybe like 109, 110.
109, 110. I think for me it's like 108.
110. Maybe 111.
Okay. But yeah, the quarterbacks are bad. The running backs are pretty bad. It's a landmine class. It really is. Like, there's definitely upside. I'm not arguing that. It's just not ideal for the hit rates and the prospect profiles of a lot of these guys. Tight end, it's not horrible, but there's really no one to write home about. You know, Trey McBride was kind of that guy, and then he kind of got kicked in the shin with a wacky landing spot. And then the receivers, I think, are slightly above average. Maybe not necessarily the top end. I think the top end is about average with any of the other classes. But there's some good players. I mean, there's some good profiles, and there's a good amount of them. So I think the receivers are pretty good. Now, let's start looking at like the specific ranges. Top 6 picks, right? The juicers. I think it's pretty average. You know,
the biggest difference with this draft class versus others is normally you see at least 1 or 2 quarterbacks go in the top 4. So some of those 5, 6 receivers would be falling to like the 6 or 7 spot. I still like it. I'm really high on this receiving class, but unless I have 101, if I have 102 or 103, I'm trying to trade back to 106 or 107, maybe 105. Like if I have the second or third pick, I'm trying to trade back a couple slots.
I think the first 6 picks are solid.
I agree.
I think they're not the juiciest. They're not the flashiest. They're solid. Like they're fine players to build your team around. I agree. And the hit rates on them are generally speaking like 60%, maybe slightly above that. I think that a lot of these guys, Drake London, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, right in line with the standard hit rates. I do agree with it. If I have 102 and I know one of my league mates wants Kenneth Walker, or if someone is trying to get Kenneth Walker, I will sell that pick for
basically consensus price to try and move down a couple of spots so someone else can take Kenneth Walker and I can nab one of those receivers, because I really don't think that Kenneth Walker should be a top 5 rookie pick. We kind of had a debate before. However you try to maximize the value of someone wanting Kenneth Walker, whether you take him at 102 and then sell him after the fact, or you just try to trade down in the rookie draft, that's an interesting discussion, but I don't think that's a topic for this segment. So let's move into the middle to late part of the first, right? 107 to 112. I think it's like kind of under average. I think generally speaking, you're kind of nabbing some early second round prospect. There's still some good players.
Sky Moore or bust.
It kind of feels a little bit like you look at the late first in 2020 and 2021, and even 2019 a little bit, right? Because a guy like Deebo Samuel, I remember, was going late first consistently every second. Hollywood was going late first, and he was like the first receiver off the board taken. Like, I think there's good players, except once you get to that very late part of the first, it really feels like you're taking second round players. Compared to last year, you were getting a first round player that fell.
We're talking about, I mean, you compare it to 2020, where it was like DeAndre Swift and Justin Herbert were in the back end of 2020, and then 2021, or Justin Jefferson was even back there. 2021, we're looking at Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Rashad Bateman are back there in that 2021.
I mean, even Etienne and Javonte.
Etienne, Javonte, Elijah Moore, all those guys are in the back. And now we're looking at Christian Watson and Olave and Dotson. And it's just like, they're not the same. They're not the same prospects. It feels like you're taking more of a mid, like a 204 or 205 kind of player at 110. Than a 201 even.
Yeah, I think it feels like you're taking a 201 or a 202 with a 110.
It's not.
And now we go into the early second, which I think is even worse. Once you get into
I'd be trying to trade down. Yeah, same way where I was with 102, 103. If I have like 201, I'm trying to move down a couple spots, because those early seconds, like you see guys taking James Cook. Maybe you're lucky
Isaiah
someone
Spiller.
reaches on a quarterback, Isaiah Spiller, Brian Robinson.
Like Pierce,
I'm cool with trading down a couple spots in that second round. Hindsight is always 2020. We didn't know what these players would become. I don't necessarily agree with that, Jacob Smith, because in those 2020 drafts, dude, we were all saying like, holy crap, this class is insane. I remember I traded a first round pick for 201. Which wasn't a good trade. I think that value is just about even. I'm not really sure. But like, I remember that class was nuts, dude. A lot of question marks about DK Metcalf and good drafts. Yeah, but like, I had him as my wide receiver 2 at the time. And he was like a top 6 rookie pick. Like, I mean, question marks is kind of like, I mean, you look at Rachaad White, for example, in the early second. It's like you talk about a guy with question marks. I mean, I think he should be going in third rounds, and he's going very early second.
I'll just say the likes of a Justin Herbert, who was getting picked at, I picked him at 112, I think, in our league. He was a top 5 pick and in the NFL draft, and he's currently getting drafted behind where Kenny Pickett is going. We just had chat saying he got picked at 107, 109, and Kenny Pickett's like pick 20 in the NFL draft. A much worse prospect. DeAndre Swift, again, he was like a late first. He's on the similar tier of Breece Hall in terms of prospects. And in fact, in our league, we just had Breece Hall, the pick that will be Breece Hall, get traded for DeAndre Swift. So it's. I think when we were looking at them as prospects, and we don't know what this class is going to turn into, but in just straight cold hard, like looking at their college production, when they came out, what they've done, where they got drafted in the NFL, in terms of like what pick and what round, not like what landing spot they have. Like this class in terms of prospects is just objectively worse than the past 3 years.
I definitely.
I think even more so than that.
I mean, you could probably go later, but just
real
objectively.
Quick, a couple things in the chat. First up, Jacob Smith, your comment's hilarious. People said Trevor Lawrence would be Jesus.
You are sleeping on T-Law.
I thought P to the R question was interesting real quick with what's the move at 106, 102, and 106 this year. I don't know if you guys read his comment. He has a bunch of firsts next year. ETN's his only running back.
Well, I think you look at it and you say, okay, which one is more likely to fall, Drake London or Treylon Burks to 106, and just take
Garrett Wilson. I'd be happy with.
I think ultimately, two receivers there. I think ultimately you'll end up getting Garrett Wilson at 106. I think you'll probably.
You probably will.
Drake London is probably the safer play. I like Treylon Burks more at 102. Drake London's probably the safer play in terms of how he'll actually pan out.
I would. So I already said my strategy. If I had 102, I'm trading back a couple slots. Like if you could trade back to like 106, 107, and pick up like a 23, like some 23 or 24 draft capital, I'm doing that.
I don't want to move back like 107. I want to move back to like 105 at the latest. And
no, because at 107 you could still get like a Jameson.
That's the thing. You still like Jameson. Jameson's kind of
I'm still super high on Jameson. Like I would. I
don't hate that. It depends on the price that you get. I just, like JT said, I'd be very comfortable moving back 3 spots for a kind of like meh price, but I get Treylon.
Yeah,
I do that. I'll move off from Drake London for Treylon for like a second. I don't care. I mean, ideal scenario is someone wants Kenneth Walker really badly. I mean, I think what you were kind of hinting at with that question is, do I take Kenneth Walker at 102 with the ETN as my only running back? I mean, listen, man, you can if you really want to. I don't think Kenneth Walker is that great of a prospect compared to what the consensus seems to think. Everyone's seeing this beast, right? I think a lot of people almost have him as a Dobbins. I'm seeing like he had one good year of college. He was great, but I think he's an underdeveloped runner. He's undersized, and he doesn't really have a receiving profile. Even though I don't think he can't catch the ball, I don't expect him to come out here and be a world beater of a receiver either. So, the
Seahawks just aren't going to use him like that.
I mean, like, he has upside. I'm not saying he doesn't have upside. He very well could be worth it. But I think that his floor is a lot lower than some of the people in the community are making it out to be. Like, we're talking about a dude that could average like 8 points per game, and I really wouldn't be surprised. I don't really want to take that at 102. I think Drake London is a very safe prospect. The dude's a fucking beast. The guy literally was triple covered every game and produced. All right, let's go back to the rookie draft guide, though. We got to go way off topic. Early second is terrible.
Yes.
What I've been doing, and we were going to do this in trades we're doing, but I guess we're going to do it now. I've been able to pull, I traded 111 and 204, and I ended up moving up to 105 for Treylon. I think I would do that. I was going to offer that for every single pick until Garrett Wilson, Treylon, and Drake London went. I think that you might be able to do that. But when push comes to shove, I'm just not taking any of these running backs in the early second. I don't care what the upside is. I just don't want to. I'd much rather take and reach on Trey McBride, David Bell, Mechie than take one of these running backs. Maybe I'll take Dameon Pierce at 206 or 207, but...
So, I mean, this is where we disagree. So early second, probably not 201, but I mentioned before, the 202 to 205 range, and I mean, it's kind of unrealistic because he'll probably be gone by then, but that's where I like James Cook, and then Dameon Pierce pretty close after, around like 204 to 207. Because
I'm looking at Dameon Pierce go 210.
I think
the thing is, James Cook is consistently going.
No, that's why I said it's kind of irrelevant.
This one has James
people are taking him in the late first. But if he is somehow there at the top of the second, like 202, 203, 204, I'd feel good taking James Cook there. I'm not taking him in the first, though.
It's super hard to trade 102 back to 105 because everyone is okay with the top 3 receivers. I completely agree with that. That's why, like, it's great to say in theory. It's just hard to actually do it. That's why you kind of have to hope that the Kenneth Walker truthers are in your draft. because I have seen people in drafts that I've been in trade up to 102 for Kenneth Walker. It's just not every draft, and obviously not everyone's a big Kenneth Walker guy, but if there is any reason for someone to move up from 105 to 102, it's going to be so that they can land Kenneth Walker. They can get Walker. It's not going to be because they want to take their pick of any of the 3 top receivers. Late second. I like thought that the late second was pretty bad, but I've actually been able to land David Bell at 210 and 211 in my late seconds, and Trey McBride has been falling to the late seconds.
Yep.
And Mechie has been available at the very late second, so I actually don't hate the late second as much in practice as I thought it would play out in my head.
I like the late second for some of the reasons you listed. Like, you can get a McBride there. You mentioned David Bell. JT just mentioned Dameon Pierce's ADP was 210. I love Pierce at 210 or even like 208. I mean, I just said I would take him in like the 205 to 207 range. So I actually kind of like the value of the late second. I'm not gonna lie.
Yuck, IDP.
Is IDP gold? What is that? I mean, this
IDP.
I'm sure
gold.
You could probably get like Kayvon Thibodeau and I think that late first, early second probably works.
Real quick, Joe Herbert. I'm with you on Wilson at 102.
Hutchinson.
IDP saying IDP gold just makes me think of like someone at the trailer park finding a used needle and being like, "Yes, I hit the jackpot!" Like,
did not see that coming.
That's what Frank he spends the entire week thinking of a new random ass analogy to use on the pod that he just has in the tuck waiting to whip out.
All the IDP watchers just instantly click off. Fuck that guy.
Anyway, I hate the late second.
I thought I was going to hate the late second. Like, on my board, come the late second, I'm like, dude, this sucks. But I've had players that can fall.
Yeah.
Third round. I mean, we could just start grouping the third round. I actually kind of like the third round this year. I think the third round is low-key pretty nice. There's plenty of decent tight ends that you can get. I thought Jelani Woods was a dude that would shoot up to the second round. He's consistently falling in the third. Guys like Brian Robinson are falling in the third. Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Tolbert are in the third.
I've seen Alec Pierce falling in the third.
Wan'Dale Robinson in the third is a pick I like a lot.
And then come like the very late third and more into the fourth. I mean, in the fourth round, I've been nabbing all these tight ends. Jeremy Ruckert, Charlie Kolar, even though he got taken by the Ravens, like, I mean, I'm snagging him in the late fourth. Like, come to the fourth round, and also Danny Gray, the 49ers dude. Like, yeah. I actually kind of like the third and fourth round and some of these depth picks. I think that they're kind of being undervalued. And they're not the sexiest things all the time, but you're getting some pretty darn good prospects.
I agree. And no, even so Jake's not here tonight, but he just had a rookie draft recently. He got Thornton in the third round, right? Thornton. Yeah, it was at the end of the third, I think, or beginning. I forgot.
Looking at this mock draft, I'm looking on.
But Thornton was the second round pick, like in like the early 50s or somewhere in the 50s.
Yeah, he's a late third.
Yeah, like that's like, I know people weren't really high on Thornton P draft, but
it reminds me a little bit of Van Jefferson. I was nabbing some Van Jefferson very late third round. It's not the sexiest pick, but like,
I mean, I picked Van Jefferson, and I was able to already flip him for plus value when I did trade him. Like, it's.
I think getting a day two guy in the late third of a rookie draft is always a good play.
So yeah, you can do that a little bit. So all right, let's get into kind of where we would target with the specific picks. Okay, 101 Breece Hall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Now we can get into the one. I mean, we basically been having the 102 conversation all the time. So let's get into that scenario. You can't trade down from 102. We've been saying, trade down from 102 to 105. It's just crickets. You go out and you send out your offers 102 for 105 in a second, and everyone's insta-rejecting you. They message you on the app. You're a fucking idiot. What are you offering me? That's a terrible trade. Who are you taking at 102?
You guys are both going to shit on me for my answer.
You're going to say Garrett Wilson.
I'm going to say Garrett Wilson.
I thought you were going to say Walker.
I said I'd take Walker top 5.
because the only reason I would take Walker is because I think that your argument, because we were having an argument in our message group.
I do still stand by that, by the way. Like,
is
if I had
low-key
103
kind
or
of right
104,
in that if you can't trade back from 102, if you take Walker, he's probably the easiest player to trade for the highest price.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it a little ballsy taking a player at 102 just to trade them, you know?
I did that in the league. Like,
I've done it before, but like
immediately after the draft, after the draft, I put him on the trade block. I've already been offered, so it's a contenders 23 first and there's 24 second, and some other dude's bidding now. Now it is like I said, that was the very first offer. It's only going to be more if, like, say week 1, he has like 75 yards and a touchdown. I don't know. Like,
you're asking a lot, though.
Well,
who knows if the Seahawks offense even scored a touchdown?
He was saying, if I'm doing that, I am not having Kenneth Walker on my team.
He is not on my roster. I also defended that Lounis.
By the way, that point, it has to be in an active league. I know there are like some leagues where like you can tell it's just like, oh, this isn't that active. Like, if you're going to take Kenneth Walker at 102, be sure you're in an active league. Because the league that I did take him top 3, like, it's a super heavy trading league. So that's why I felt comfortable taking him.
Other than that, I would take Drake London. If I was going to take a player for long term.
I would take, at 102, I'd probably take Kenneth Walker simply for that reason.
Kenneth Walker's my 103.
I like it'd be Treylon Burks.
Walker's my 103. But I understand I literally took him at 102 like 2 weeks ago. I'm just back and forth between them.
Okay, so then, like 103, 104, 105 is just receiver. Like,
if Walker's not 102, yeah.
Well, because I actually kind of agree with you guys. I might take Walker at 102 just to trade him. If I can't trade the 102 pick for a good, because I disagree with the people that say that the draft picks are at their highest value during the rookie draft. I actually think it's right after the rookie draft and during
that training camp,
the OTA hype. Like,
yeah.
Once you see the players performing in the helmets, I've gotten some crazy offers.
I could have gotten so much for Terrace Marshall.
Think about last year. Like, not even Terrace Marshall, but like Bateman and Elijah Moore, people got at the like 203, 204 range, 202. Training camp, you probably could have traded them for a future late first. Like, you could have.
That's when not Treylon. Bateman injured his groin pretty early into.
No, but do you remember there was like the scrimmage? He had like the deep touchdown, and everyone was hyping him up.
True. Yeah,
like true. At that point, I think you could have sold him for a late first. Elijah Moore, the entire offseason was like, would have been easy to trade for a first.
But yeah, then 103, 104, 105, London, Burks, Garrett Wilson. 106 for me, I would take Jameson Williams personally because I just think he has the crazy upside.
I think that's where
I'd consider taking him top 5.
You would take Sky Moore at 106?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sky Moore's my 107. Jameson, man, if you tell me Jameson's the best receiver from this class 2-3 years from now, I'm not going to be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, you were trying to say that before the draft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to have the best rookie season. Obviously, he's still coming off the torn ACL, but man, I'm looking at him hard in the top 5. I mean, you guys knew my receiver rankings. It was Garrett Wilson 1, Jameson Williams 2. And I stick with it. I think Drake London could have the more productive rookie season. I still think he's going to be like a star. I would take him in the top 5. Or top 6, between him and Treylon. But I'm still as high on Wilson and Jameson.
Yo, by the way, throw your sleeper names in the chat if you want to be part of the Dynasty League. I'll add you, and we'll get that league going.
Someone is Justin Ross and no go. At 310, the next comment, 310. I'm okay with throwing the flyer on Ross at 310.
I put out a tweet.
Take him much before that.
No, I put out a tweet at Dynasty JT on Twitter. I tweeted out today that I just think if you're taking a player like Justin Ross over Tyquan Thornton, I can't.
Oh no, you definitely take Thornton.
I'm super high on Justin Ross. I love Justin Ross. I was fighting with Frank in the comments last week about Justin Ross. But at the end of the day, Justin Ross is still an undrafted free agent with serious medical issues.
That tells you all you need to know about his medical.
And to me, it's just like I don't see immediate production happening for Justin Ross. I don't even know if he's actually going to be on the field for the NFL. Like,
I'd be surprised if he plays in the NFL.
He will be cheap. Like, he's not going to have immediate crazy production right off the bat. You're not going to see a Jamar Chase or like Hollywood against the Dolphins like 3 years ago when he had 2 long touchdowns. Like, you're not going to see that from Justin Ross right away, and he's going to be cheap. So I'd draft him, but I wouldn't draft him anywhere before the 3rd round. Like the 4th round is the earliest I would take him.
Real quick, Robert Miller, thanks for sending your sleeper name. It will not be an IDP league, but it will be a Dynasty Superflex tight end premium league.
Joe Herbert, I got sniped on Jameson, so I took Pickens at 108. I think you actually won that. I like Pickens more than Jameson.
Was Sky Moore there, though? Are you taking Sky Moore or Pickens?
I'm taking.
I mean, I don't hate that pick. Like, I still think Pickens.
So while good. Frank's pulling up, whatever Frank's pulling up, I sent you guys my post NFL draft rookie rankings. I had Breece Hall 1, Treylon Burks 2, London 3, Kenneth Walker 4, Garrett Wilson 5, and Sky Moore at 6. So that is where I'm at.
Well, see, what I'm thinking
7 will shock you.
If I'm at 107.
Wait, JT, who's 7? I forgot it.
David Bell. It was David Bell.
Oh, fuck you.
If I was at 107, I might entertain trying to trade down to like 111. If someone wants to go up and get Sky Moore or Pickett or whoever,
be the guy 111 trying to
so that I can take Pickens or Jahan Dotson at 111.
I'm staying put in. I'm taking Sky Moore. I'm cool with Sky Moore. Even though I like Pickens and Dotson.
Give me Sky.
I think Pickens is a beast. I think Pickens is a better player than Sky Moore.
Even pre-draft, I had Sky Moore ahead of Pickens. I've been consistent with that. So I think Sky Moore is a beast.
Jake would be torching us right now. So if anyone wants.
Okay, so then Sky Moore 107, 108. Yeah, Jake is. I can already hear Jake screaming Olave
from the baseball stadium.
Well, 108 would probably be Pickens for Jake, Jake.
Probably I'm taking Olave here if he's not there. Yeah, easy.
Well, regardless, it's going to be Olave. Then Pickett is going to go, or he might even been a couple picks earlier. Then I mean, basically, it's like, okay, I'm just taking receivers at this point. I'm snagging Pickens, I'm snagging Jahan Dotson, and then after that, it's like,
Christian
dude, what the hell happened last night?
I'm frantically trying to trade out of this spot.
I'm taking Christian Watson at the end of the first.
Well, yeah, this is why, like, at 112 and beyond, if I can't get Jahan Dotson, then I'm just like, dude, I don't want to take James Cook. I don't want to take Christian Watson. At that point, the next highest talent player on my board, I actually think, is Trey McBride. And it's like, am I going to take Trey McBride at 201? David Bell at 201?
No. I mean, I'm on the island tonight. I would be gladly taking Christian Watson at the very end of the first.
If I can't move out of 201, like I can't move back, and there's no veterans that are available for 201, I would take David Bell. I definitely take David Bell just because, like,
crazy.
I don't disagree. I might do it too.
James Cook, Dameon Pierce, like I don't want those guys. Isaiah Spiller, no way.
This is the thing. These
3rd rounder Malik Willis, no thank you.
Trash, bro.
Oh wait, no, I forgot. We did this in person. I don't know if you guys remember from the stream.
I have a reminder set. I have the bet. Yeah.
Me and GT have a bet. How far out is it? Is it this time next year?
Is there a way that I could see? Oh yeah, okay, right here. Monday, May 1st, 2023. JT says David Bell will have more keep trade cut points than Christian Watson on May 1st, 2023. Lounis says Christian Watson will be higher. Loser will get a clown face next to name on the pod from May 1st through, I'm assuming it's when the regular season starts. Yeah, through the NFL regular season.
Yeah.
So we have a clown bet on the way.
So we do have a clown bet. Christian Watson.
If everyone looking on YouTube can see Lounis' name, you're going to see a little clown emoji next to that soon.
But yeah, these early 2nd round picks, I am not waiting until the NFL, the rookie draft, I mean, to trade these early seconds. I am offering these out like wildfire.
Parker said Lounis loves those trash, but have quote upside running backs. Exactly. You're gonna tell me David Bell is worse than James?
Well, the thing is, these running backs do have upside. If the one of them hit, they're gonna hit. It's just we did the math on. We looked at the data on this a while ago. It's literally like a 20% chance from these running backs that are drafted at pick 90 until pick 130. It's like if a 20% chance. Why am I doing that? I don't want to bet on that guy. On top of the fact that it's not even like I like these running backs all that much. That's like, it's a different story if I'm taking Ramondre Stevenson in the 3rd round, or in the late 2nd, or even AJ Dillon in the late 2nd to mid 2nd. It's like, okay, I can at least like these guys. I didn't hate them. I'm looking at Rachaad White, and I'm seeing a dude that literally had the 2nd lowest force missed tackle tracking I've ever recorded.
I mean, I'm telling you all this. I'm surprised at how high he's going in drafts. I'm not touching him. I'm letting someone else draft Rachaad White.
See, Isaiah Spiller is another one. I just don't. I hated his film.
Isaiah Spiller I like more than Rachaad White, especially considering Spiller you can get slightly cheaper.
Isaiah Spiller I've seen all over the place. I've seen him at 201. I've even seen him in the 1st round. I've seen him at the end of the 2nd round too.
And the 1st round is insane. I've seen him.
Dude, are we really saying he's a top 15 prospect, top 16, prospect this year? Really?
I'm cool with mid 2nd round for Spiller. I'm cool with like if you took him 206, 207, I'd be okay. I'm good with that. That's somewhere I would heavily consider taking him.
It's just such an ugly draft. I don't know if I can knock you too much for taking him there.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like who you take, like the guy.
Yeah, I can't be like outraged that you took Isaiah Spiller over like Alec Pierce, right? Like I can't be like
or like a Brian Robinson or.
I'd rather have Robinson at this point. But
what do you think of Hand of the King, Tyrion Davis Price? That
was a wild pick to me.
I agree. I just think he's like a one-trick pony. It's like, okay, you're going to hand it off to him, and he's going to go north and south. I mean, he might be decent at going north and south, but like,
real quick, Jacob Smith. Not supposed to be an ouch on Spiller. I still like Spiller. I think generally none of us really hate him.
Maybe I don't like him.
Maybe Frank.
I really don't.
Frank doesn't like him.
Dude, I'm sorry. The other running back they had, a chain. Is that how you say his name?
Devon.
That dude's better than him. I think he was last year. He was better than him.
Arcane? How do you say?
Wait. Who?
I'm getting that right. Right. He's on Texas A&M.
Yeah, he's going to be an early day 2 pick, I think, in the NFL draft. Devon Arcane Akon.
Devon Achane, Akon. I don't know how to say his name, but
Joe Herbert says TDP is a short yardage back.
I don't. When I watched A&M last year, I thought he was way more dynamic than Spiller.
If he's 160 pounds, I don't know his weight. I don't know his height and weight yet because I haven't gone in depth in scouting him. I know who he is. If he's 160 pounds, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic, but if he is, he's a track guy. Okay.
Yeah, he is a track guy.
5'9", 185 listed.
I hope he's 185 and he's not 160. I have to scout him more. I can't give a good take on him.
Then he'd be like DeVonta Smith.
Shut up.
I don't know. Like, I just don't want to take Spiller at 203, 204. Yeah, listed. You're right, listed. Like, I'll give you that.
Yeah, no. JT, do you remember? JT and I played football together in high school. JT, do you remember when they came out with like the heights and weights of everyone? Yeah. And everyone was like 3 inches taller and like 20, 30 pounds.
In high school, in my freshman year of high school, I ain't hit my growth spurt yet. So I think I was like 5'9". And I was 178 pounds, and it said I was 6'2", 225.
Yeah, no, my shit. I was like 5'9", like 155, 160, and they were like 5'11", 185. I'm like, oh, you say so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can just look at though, like Minnesota had Bateman as like 6'1", like 220, and it turned out he was like 5'11".
Yeah, no, it happened.
Yeah, but I am trying. I have 205 in the 3rd and 20 league, and I'm about to start bulk offering that pick. I'm going to get out 205.
Yeah, the whole second round is ugly for me. Like if you want to ask me like who I legitimately like that is going in the second round, it's David Bell, it's Pickens if he goes there. Sometimes he does. Most of the time,
I somehow got Pickens 202 in that one draft. I have no idea.
I haven't seen Pickens go out of the first.
I sent the rookie draft. I told you it was literally a joke draft. Like, well, I mean, it wasn't like terrible, but I don't know how I got Pickens at 202. It's because James Cook went in the first round, but
and like so it's those two and maybe like Trey McBride. That's it.
I like Dameon Pierce. I like Spiller.
Nope.
See that's the only problem I have with these second round picks is that I'm praying that these running backs go ahead. That's what I feel like. I'm just praying that running backs and quarterbacks go.
Are any of you guys touching the quarterbacks in the second round?
No, I'm not touching the quarterbacks fucking anywhere, honestly.
Same. I know. My thing for rookie drafts for this year, I'm hoping that anyone else or everyone else takes the rookie quarterbacks.
Well,
receivers or running backs or tight ends drop.
My actual answer is like, okay, if they drop far enough, but that if they drop far enough it has not happened, and I don't think will happen. So I'm just not taking any of them, realistically.
No, I get it. Yeah, no. In the third round, I'd be like maybe interested, but I'm not touching them in the second.
So
I'll look at. I'll look.
And I'll let someone else take Pickett.
I just feel like I'm drafting a bunch of like not good players in the second round with these yeah, like I'm just not doing it, dude. I'm just not doing it. So and then third round, I actually kind of like the third round because there are just players that I thought would boost to the second when a lot of these running backs fell that just didn't. And then the running backs that I actually kind of like, well, I mean, the one is in the third round, it seems like in what's his name? Alabama dude. 5th-year senior that JT probably hates.
You just lost me. Backtrack for a second.
The Alabama running back. What's his name? I can't remember.
Brian Robinson?
Brian Robinson. Yeah, Brian Robinson you can get at the beginning of the third. Wandale you can get in like the beginning, middle-ish of the third. I've even seen Trey McBride fall into the third, but you can get Jelani Woods consistently in the third. There are plenty of other decent receivers that you can nab in the late third too. Thornton.
Yeah.
And then going into the fourth, there are good tight ends and still good receivers. Guys like Danny Gray and Romeo Dobbs. I would even take Dobbs in the late third, probably.
Are you guys buying any of those reports about San Fran not being impressed with Trey Lance's progress?
Not at all. Not at all. He played games. He looked. I mean, if you weren't being technical, he looked better than Trevor Lawrence. So we're all still confident about Trevor. I know Trevor's more talented arm-wise, but I didn't think Trey Lance looked all that bad for just being thrown in as a rookie.
You're asking me, tinfoil hat JT's putting it on right now. I think this came out of San Francisco being like,
actually, yes. It could be to drive up Jimmy's price.
Yeah, we don't need to trade Jimmy G. We might have to play him this year.
I just don't understand why did it come out now when everyone's like away from the
facility? Because they haven't gotten a good enough offer for Jimmy G yet. That's why it came out. Jimmy G. They were hoping the draft they probably could have traded him, but they're still waiting on it. Because remember, if the report came out, Jimmy G and the 49ers are working on a trade. Like they were working on it, an ideal destination where it's a clean and good part on both ends. They haven't been able to get that yet, so there's your Trey Lance. I still love Trey Lance. Like if that report drops his stock, I'm buying him. I fully believe in Trey Lance.
Dynasty stock market, so I hope it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe Trey Lance didn't post enough workout videos for the 49ers. There's no reason at this point in time why they would be unimpressed with him.
He's got to seem like a good player. He's got to do one of those Instagram delete all the pictures. That's how you know you've made it.
But yeah, I mean that's generally it for what we think of the rookie draft. I'm pretty sure we already covered the fourth round, but yeah, fourth round I'm kind of just scooping up more receivers and tight ends.
Yeah. Fourth round. I mean, looking at everyone that's getting taken, fourth round is where I feel comfortable taking Justin Ross.
Man. I'm not getting into it. I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
It's fourth round, dude.
Frank's holding back.
You could trade. There was a point in time. I
wish you were there last week. I was alone.
I was on an island. COVID voice and all. I almost moved in.
you almost called in.
Now,
imagine if JT just called in, like randomly just joined through his phone. He's like, all right, I've seen enough.
Like Denzel Mims. I'm still convinced there are some leagues that you could probably trade Denzel Mims for a fourth round pick. Like people look at fourth round picks like they're nothing. And you're going to tell me Justin Ross isn't worth a fourth round pick? Just the idea of Justin Ross. I can't believe you.
Frank's holding back.
I know. I can't believe this guy. I want us to move to an alternate universe where Justin Ross was completely healthy. There's no spinal stuff, and I will love to see how Frank felt about Justin Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the scatter report on him before the draft. I wasn't like the biggest Justin Ross fan then.
Yeah, but all right. So when was his spinal injury? After his sophomore year?
It was during
sophomore year.
Yeah.
I just don't think his tape was really that good.
Well, we watched the tape.
Yeah. Go back.
I did. I watched those games. The thing is that he was a nuanced route runner, but I don't think that's where his issues stem from. So
that's it. We don't need to get into the whole debate. If we're done with the drafting, are we going to the team analyzer again?
I don't know. This pod's kind of
trades. We're kind of running long here, but
yeah.
All right,
we could save teams for the future.
Yeah, so we got two more teams to analyze. If you guys want to join that Dynasty League, I don't know when we're going to draft. I guess once we can get it full, throw your sleeper name in the chat or maybe your email in the chat. It's going to be on Sleeper through League Safe. It'll be like $25 Dynasty League. Yeah, so Parker and Lucas will get to your teams next week. Sorry. Dynasty stock market tomorrow. If you want to check out 3rd-and-20.com, go ahead. It's free to use. You just got to sign up, put in your sleeper league IDs and things, and you can see super cool graphs like these. And hopefully I'll change the value of the picks sooner rather than later, hopefully. But yeah, that's basically it. Follow us on social media, 3rd-and-20. And that's really it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys, everyone in the chat. Throw us a like if you enjoyed this episode. See you guys next week. Or see you guys tomorrow. Yeah.